Imagine visiting a country and suddenly someone tells you that keeping an ice cream cone in your back pocket could be illegal. Or that letting a donkey sleep in a bathtub might break the law. It sounds like a joke, right? But the surprising truth is that in one of the most powerful and developed countries in the world, the United States, there are several strange and unusual laws that still exist in legal history. Most people believe that laws are always serious and logical, created only to stop major crimes and protect society. While that is mostly true, history shows that sometimes governments had to deal with very unusual problems. When those problems appeared, lawmakers created rules to solve them. Over time, those rules stayed in the law books, even though the situations that created them disappeared long ago. Because of that, many old laws now sound funny, strange, or even unbelievable. Today we are going to explore some of the most bizarre laws from different parts of the United States. Some of these laws were created because of real historical events, while others were written in ways that sound confusing or humorous today. Let's start with one of the most famous strange laws. In the state of Alabama, there was once a law that made it illegal to keep an ice cream cone in your back pocket. At first glance, this law sounds completely ridiculous. Why would anyone make a rule about ice cream in pockets? The reason actually goes back many years to a time when horse theft was a common crime in rural America. Some thieves discovered a clever trick. Instead of directly stealing a horse, they would place an ice cream cone in their back pocket and slowly walk away. Horses are naturally curious animals and are attracted to sweet smells. Because of the smell of the ice cream, the horse would begin following the person carrying it. The thief would simply continue walking while the horse followed behind. Technically, the person was not pulling the horse or riding it away, which made it difficult for authorities to prove theft. The horse appeared to be following voluntarily. To stop this unusual method of stealing horses, lawmakers created a rule that made it illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. Even though horse theft methods have changed and this situation rarely happens today, the law became famous because of how strange it sounds. Another interesting set of laws in American history are known as blue laws. These laws were created to control activities on Sundays. In many communities during earlier centuries, Sunday was considered a day for rest and religious worship. Because of this belief, governments made rules that limited certain activities on that day. For example, in places like Ohio, historical laws restricted some types of work or entertainment on Sundays. The goal was to encourage people to spend the day resting, attending church, or spending time with family instead of working or engaging in noisy activities. Over time, society became more modern and diverse. Many people began to see Sundays as a normal day like any other. As a result, many of these rules were removed or relaxed. However, the idea of blue laws still exists in some areas, and they remain an interesting example of how culture and religion influenced lawmaking in the past. Now let's look at a law that sounds confusing even when you read it carefully. In California, there was a rule stating that it is illegal to catch a fish in a suspicious manner. When people hear this law, they often laugh because the wording seems so unclear. What exactly does suspicious mean in this situation? The intention behind the law was actually very serious. Authorities wanted to stop illegal and harmful fishing practices. Some individuals use dangerous techniques like explosives, chemicals, or destructive tools that could damage the environment and kill large numbers of fish at once. These activities threatened marine ecosystems and could destroy fish populations in rivers and lakes. Lawmakers created regulations to prevent those practices and protect wildlife. However, the wording of the rule became famous because it sounded vague and unusual. The phrase catching fish in a suspicious manner became a humorous example of how legal language can sometimes create confusion. Another strange law comes from Arizona, and it involves a donkey and a bathtub. According to a well-known story connected to this law, allowing a donkey to sleep in a bathtub became illegal after a strange event that occurred many years ago. A shop owner had a donkey that liked to rest inside an old bathtub located outside the building. One day, heavy rain caused a sudden flood in the area. The bathtub, with the donkey inside it, was lifted by the floodwater and began floating away. Local residents had to organize a rescue operation to save the animal. The incident attracted attention because of how unusual it was, and authorities decided to prevent similar situations in the future. As a result, a rule was created that made it illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. While the law sounds humorous today, it shows how specific incidents can sometimes lead to surprisingly specific regulations. Another unusual rule also comes from Alabama and involves something as simple as a fake mustache. According to this old rule, wearing a fake mustache in church could be illegal if it causes laughter or disrupts the service. Churches were traditionally considered places that required quiet respect and seriousness. In earlier times, some people played pranks by wearing funny costumes or fake facial hair during church gatherings. These actions distracted others and disrupted religious ceremonies. To prevent this behavior, authorities created a law designed to protect the respectful atmosphere of the church. The rule was not really about mustaches themselves but about preventing disruptive behavior in a place meant for worship. Today, such a law sounds humorous because fashion and humor have changed greatly over time. Modern society is far more relaxed about clothing and appearance. Still, this rule remains an interesting reminder of how seriously communities once treated public behavior in religious settings. When we look at these unusual laws, we learn something important about history. Laws are often created in response to very specific situations. At the moment they are written, they usually make perfect sense because they solve a real problem. However, as society changes and those situations disappear, the laws may remain in the legal system even though they sound strange to future generations. The United States is a large country made up of many states, and each state has its own legal history. Because of that, thousands of unique local laws have been created over the years. Some of them address serious social issues, while others were designed to solve surprisingly unusual problems. These strange laws are not only entertaining to learn about, but they also reveal how society has evolved over time. They show us how people lived, what problems they faced, and how governments tried to solve those problems. Sometimes the solution to a strange problem results in a law that sounds even stranger many years later. So the next time you hear about an unusual rule somewhere in the world, remember that there is probably an interesting story behind it. Laws are not just rules written on paper. They are reflections of real events, real communities, and real moments in history. If you enjoyed learning about these strange laws, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting facts, surprising history, and unusual stories from around the world. And in the comments, tell us which of these strange laws surprised you the most. We will see you in the next video with another fascinating topic.